community, family, faith. Welcome to the Reclaimed American Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Reclaimed American Podcast. Today is episode number 31, and we've got Sean. How do you pronounce your last name, Sean?
It literally depends on who you ask. I usually just go with Friedrich.
Friedrich, okay. And so we've got Sean Friedrich from OP Veteran, and we'll be talking with him today. They've got an awesome main event coming up very soon, but they've also got tons of little things that they do sporadically throughout the year. But first, we have the Baby T Chronicles. So this week, we had our I call it the baby doc appointment. We went in, saw the OB. We're at 23 weeks now, and she says, everything's looking good. Next time we come in, my wife has to go through the diabetes check, which means she can't eat 2 hours before the appointment. She gets there, she has to drink some kind of juice, and then an hour later, they draw her blood and see how she did. And so that's the big thing we've got to look forward to on the next one. But she, just so you know, Sean, my wife suffers from anxieties, and occasionally they hit, and we've got what we call the oh shit pill that she has to take when that does. You know, the doc was kind of hard on her a little bit this time around because we ended up having to go to the ER a couple times within this last month. And of course, you know, we're going to the Women's Hospital of Texas. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever been, for all of you guys out there, if you've ever been to an ER, it's horrible. You go there, you wait for hours just so they can take your blood pressure. Well, the Women's Hospital of Texas, all they do is they primarily treat women, especially pregnant women. And so we go there, and I mean, they check her in, they get her weight, and they send her straight to a room. They check her vitals. And then instantly there's a doctor saying, hey, what's going on? Why are you here? And normally when we go there, we're in and out in like 2-3 hours max. Mm-hmm. So it's a great experience for an ER, which I'm sure at some point this is going to cost a small fortune. But in the meantime, it gives my wife peace of mind, and we just go from there. But so, yeah, the doc was a little bit harsh this time around, but, you know, just, hey, you know, you might want to think about maybe going and seeing a doctor that specializes in the brain, you know, meaning a shrink. And I think my wife finally understands that. But same time, most of the times when she has that panic attack, it's related to food. Like if she eats something too salty, it screws her up. If she eats something too fatty, it screws her up. So, I mean, so the doctor's like, you know, oh, it's something in your head. It's like, no, it really seems to be something more in the stomach, but everything she eats, being pregnant, you know, it screws with her. So that's the fun we're having.
So I have to ask a question. So has she desecrated any foods for you yet? Meaning, like, she's added my girlfriend and I just had our first, and she has done things with peanut butter that no person should ever contemplate. I don't even want to talk about it. All right?
Oh, you know, we were actually talking about this earlier today, because I took her out to a buffet one day. It's one of those, you know, upper scale Japanese, Chinese buffet, whatever places.
The sushi's not as questionable.
Exactly. Sushi's not as questionable. And that's like the main item on the table. Well, they also had crab legs. I believe they were snow crab legs. So my wife, she had been craving crab legs for months. So I finally decided, all right, you know what? I'm going to spoil her. We're going to go here, and she's going to get her crab legs. Mm-hmm. Well, she gets the legs. She eats like 2 plates of them. And then after having dessert, she's like, you know, I really want one more crab leg. Hey, go get it, you know, because once we're gone, we're not coming back in, you know. So she goes and gets one more crab leg, and I still had a little bit of creme brulee left from our dessert on my plate.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Crab leg and creme brulee. And she loved it. She's like, oh my God, this is the best flavor ever. And I'm like, oh my God, that's disgusting as hell. But, to be fair, I tried it. It wasn't that bad. They were actually complementing flavors. Would I have tried that any other time? No, not a chance in hell.
No.
But so far, that's been the biggest one, those crab legs and creme brulee.
Yeah, no, some interesting, I can't remember if it was like a Philly cheesesteak and peanut butter. I want to say
God.
no, it was just like just hearing made it, like just hearing, I wasn't there for the experience,
Mm-hmm.
but hearing her just talk about it made me cringe inside and cry a little bit.
Oh my God.
But
now,
yeah, it's fun.
Oh yes. That, and we've got one of the things tonight, we have to go grocery shopping because we have obliterated all the meats in the house. But we have a little bit of rotisserie chicken left. We've got some soups that we've made over the last couple of days. But of course, my wife's like, I don't want chicken. I'm tired of chicken. I don't want the soup. I'm tired of the soup. And so we had one piece of pork left. It was a pork tenderloin that we got, and it was pre-seasoned. So I had to, and the big thing is she's also watching her sodium intake like a hawk.
Gotcha.
And so this is a pre-seasoned pork tenderloin. So I had to thaw it and then rinse all the seasoning off it. And once I cooked it, it still was salty as hell. Because since she's watching her salt, I'm watching my salt. So I'm not used to the amount of salt that is in most things anymore. Oh my God. So yeah, I cut up the ends, I diced those up, but then the center section, I just sliced those into steaks, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I cooked those like that. But even at that, I handed it to her before coming in here to record, and I could hear her from the living room go, oh my God, that's salty as hell. So I'm like, oh.
So you don't eat McDonald's fries much, do you?
No, not at all. So the last thing I've got for the Baby T Chronicles for this week, though, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Sean, but I found on Amazon a calendar called the Baby Steps Calendar, and it starts off at week 5, and then it goes through until like I don't know, week 38, and then it lumps the last sections or the last weeks together in one big block. But the idea on this calendar is you go through and you scratch off each day, and it's got a little trivia fact, a knowledge fact, just little hints, tricks, and tips for babies and how they're progressing through the pregnancy. So now we're on week 23, and we got this calendar I'd say about 3 weeks ago, and it's just been sitting in the box in the corner of the house since we got it. Well, the other day I finally broke it out, unrolled it, stuck it to a magnet board with magnets, and we started scratching it off the other day. It was pretty cool. I mean, like I said, it chronicles all your days. So if you're one of those people that forgets, am I in week 21 or week 25? Mm-hmm. Now we've got it, plain as day on a board so we can see it. But like I said, it gives interesting little tidbits of knowledge, and it's kind of fun. So
yeah, well, my girlfriend had an app called What to Expect When You're Expecting, and so I downloaded that as well just because curious. I wanted to know what to expect when I was rooting on the expecting, I guess would be the term. And it was interesting. Always, it's like, oh, your child is this thing, and this is what your partner is going through right now, and this is why she's a little crazy right now. So it was helpful.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find that. What was that called again?
I'll have to go back and look.
What to expect when you're expecting?
Something like that. I honestly deleted the app, or I didn't delete the app, but my phone decided to totally crash. I think it was the day after my son was born, so I had to go get a new phone, and it came like 3-4 weeks, maybe. I think it might have even been 6 weeks early. I can't remember off the top of my head or do the math. And it was everything was a little chaotic right around it. So
Right. So now, since your phone crashed, did you end up losing all the photos, or did you still have those?
Thank goodness for iCloud.
There you go.
For the cloud and, you know, all that fun stuff. So,
Now, you said your son was born 6 weeks early?
something like that. He spent about 2 weeks in the preemie section.
Oh, wow. There is a Facebook group that I'd recently signed up with. It's called Veteran Military Dad Club or something like that. And the idea behind their group is, it's going to screw with me if I don't actually see the name. I only see like 20 million posts a day from them, and now I can't find it.
That's about how it works.
Military Veteran Dad Cave. That's the name of this Facebook group. And in the last 2 weeks, I've gone from 0, because they started 2 weeks ago, to almost 800 members already. So I guess there's a pretty big need for this. But one of the guys in there, his son was born at 27 weeks, 6 days.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they just recently got to take him home. He spent 110 days in the in ICU.
Yeah.
And when he was born, he was like 1 pound, 11 ounces. Now he's like 6 pounds, 9 ounces, and they're finally letting them take him home. And it's like, holy crap. I mean,
I'll be honest, being in that unit for any length of time or for any reason whatsoever, it's a very surreal experience. I mean, if you've had a kid before and, you know, everything was happy and healthy, and, you know, I'm great. I'm happy to hear it. But I mean, if you've ever experienced anything like that, I mean, your heart goes out to everybody in there. I mean, you get to meet the people that are sitting right next to you, going through something similar, if not the same thing you're doing.
Gotcha. Well, knock on wood. Hopefully things will come out, but I know what's going to end up happening. We're supposed to be due January 13th, and everybody in the family is saying, no, it's going to be a December baby. On my wife's side, there's 5 or 6 people with early December birthdays. On my side, my sister, she was born December 29th. But for some reason, everyone's suspecting that it might be one of those New Year's Eve, New Year's Day babies. Their grandmother passed away a couple years ago, and that was her birthday. So for some reason, a lot of people are starting to think, maybe it's going to be the New Year's baby. Who knows?
Well, I mean, if you get the first baby in the new year, I mean, that would be
pretty cool.
That'd be cool, man.
That would. But anyways, so that was the Baby T Chronicles. Thank you very much for joining. So let's get into you.
Oh, that sounds good.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Sean Friedrich, and I am the operations officer for OP Veteran. I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years as a rifleman. Had a very interesting career in that aspect. Ended up as 8th and I as my first duty station as a stage crew member for the 1st Marine Band. Stationed at 8th and I Marine Barracks with the President's Own, and then after that went to 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines. Managed to do a couple deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq in there, well, some other places. So that was a good time. And then when I got out, I got out unexpectedly and wanted to give back, continue providing a service to people, because I felt about as useful as tits on a boar hog. Mm-hmm. And looked at nonprofit organizations to get involved with. Started working with the Boy Scouts a little bit, and everything I was doing eventually just led up to OP Veteran and getting involved with them. And I've been with them pretty much from the start, and it's been an interesting road getting here, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay. So how long has OP Veteran been around?
Oh man, OP Veteran has been around, or the concept for OP Veteran has been around since before the first VetFest, and before then. Basically, Denny had thrown in what eventually became the first spring kickoff for an organization called Shadow, and he and some other guys got to talking, and started noticing that there really wasn't a whole lot of connection in the veteran community. No, when I say connection, I mean, we know, this one guy that was, trying to get a service dog, or another guy, looking to find an alternative therapy or something along those lines. And whereas Denny would know 5 or 10 guys, or know of 5 or 10 organizations, and then the other guy, someone else would know about 5 or 4 different other organizations, we realized, all right, well, what can we do to, stop to having to know a guy?
Right.
How do we get everything into one place so they can get a mission, they can find something that they can get motivated about? Because a lot of us run into that getting out of the military. We get used to waking up at 04, 05 o'clock in the morning, going into work, knowing exactly what's going on, knowing exactly what we're doing, and knowing exactly what the mission is for that day.
Right.
And when you get out and it's your alarm clock goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you look at it and you're kind of like, oh man, do I really have to get up? And it's a different experience.
That it is. Like, I know when I got out, I was in 94 to 98. So, I mean, I was in the Clinton Navy, and,
oh, wow.
Yeah, but when I got out, I went back to my dad's house. He lived out in the country. And so, if I needed to get away, I just went out into the woods and either literally blazed a trail with a stick, or, went in the woods with the guns, and, just either went target practice or hunting or whatever. And, it took about a month, then started getting back into working and going from there. But I'll be honest, like for me, I never got involved with anything veteran related until probably 5 years ago. So, I mean, I got out in 98 and had zero contact with other veterans until then. And,
I can honestly say that really doesn't surprise me. And that's really nothing on the veteran community. I think the only reason I got into the veteran community as early as I did is because of my mother, and how involved in the community she got when I went into the Marine Corps.
Okay. So let's see. So we know how long OP Veterans been around, but basically, how did you and Denny get together and get started on it?
So I met Denny at a Donnie O'Malley show at VFW Post 4747. A guy named Kevin McNeese introduced me to him. Mm-hmm. This was right around when, they were starting to, VetFest was becoming more than just an idea. It was coming, it was definitely going to happen. And they asked if I wanted to come in, sit in on the, developing what would become VetFest. And so, yeah, that's how it happened. It's been downhill ever since. I remember sitting around and talking about, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And it's kind of been like that ever since, because every year we keep getting bigger and better, and it's always a challenge, and it's always something new, and it's definitely something that keeps me engaged, and definitely helps me do something that is really important to me, and that's give back to everybody that's given so much to me. Gotcha.
All right, now we've mentioned VetFest a couple of times now, so what is VetFest?
Oh, VetFest. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of us noticed that there was a disconnect. People were getting out, and they were looking for resources, and especially early on, the VA may not have been able to provide those resources, or there was such a huge backlog that people were starting to look for alternatives. And the organizations were out there, but they couldn't find them. So they would go and eventually make their own organization or fill the holes that they saw. And so what that did is that gave us a lot of great organizations and a lot of scope for those organizations in small amounts of areas where they were, only helping a few people in their area or in their surrounding communities, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So basically it's connecting veterans to veteran service organizations and veteran-owned businesses, because that's the focus. The veteran community is the focus. and that we want to get them connected to different organizations that may be able to provide help for their PTSD or, whatever their trauma is, get them motivated and re-engaged. And, sometimes, a lot of us have the, well, I'm just tired of sitting around and doing the same thing every day syndrome. Some of us, just really want to give back, and that's great. And we want to give everybody the chances to find that opportunity at VetFest. So that's what that's about. VetFest is about bringing the veteran community together, getting those connections, making people engaged and, ready to get back into the community, and also have a good time. We make it a point to, have some good bands out there. Shannon Book is one of our artists. He comes out every year, as well. Oh gosh, I would draw a blank right now. Adam Berry Band.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that suffers from that same issue where you start talking and then it's like, oh, it's right there. I can feel it, and you just can't quite spit it out sometimes.
It happens to me all the time, and I hate it. And the worst thing I have to do is just admit that it happened, and I had a squirrel moment. Bless Kimberly and Denny's heart, because I have a lot of squirrel moments sometimes.
Not a problem.
But yeah, VetFest is. I always wanted to describe VetFest as VetFest, because to me there is nothing that really describes going to a VetFest, because when you're there, there's a lot of different veteran service organizations. There's a lot of different vendors. There's a lot of knowledge and resources in one space to help somebody get back in the game.
There you go.
And to me, that's really important. But there's more to it than just that, and the fact that there's a real sense of community. It's saying something that you can watch Denny go around, and he knows most of the vendors there by name, and there are new vendors. And when there's new vendors, he'll go and engage, and he'll go and find out more about them. That way, we can better help them. Just me volunteering so often, walking around, and I can tell you about people that were at the first VetFest, like Marissa Morgan, Kevin McNeese, Liam Fuller. They were there at the very first VetFest, and I continue to see them every year. Michael Harris is also another person, and it says something to see them keep coming back, and that group getting bigger. And as I said, we keep thinking of ways to make it better and to get not just our message and our goals out there, but other organizations and goals out there.
Okay. So where do y'all have this at? And has it always been at the same place?
No. So as I mentioned, we keep getting bigger and better, and that's why I say it's always been a challenge. Starting out, we were at VFW Post 47 on north side of Austin over by Tech Ridge. And I remember the first fest, it was pretty much all the vendors, and I think that was pretty much it. We had a DJ, if I remember correctly. Next year was first year Shannon played for us, and we were a little bit bigger that year. So, and then last year we moved to where we're going to be this year, which is Old Settlers Park. So last year we had it at Old Settlers Park. I want to say it's the Lakeline Pavilion, something along those lines. I can't remember the exact name of it. It's where they hold Frontier Day every year for Round Rock, if you're familiar with that.
Okay. And so when is it going to be this year?
So this year it's going to be on November 2nd, and it's going to be at Old Settlers Park, and it's going to start at noon, and it's going to be going until 5, and then we're going to be having a get-together or an after-party, if you will, in the green zone from 5 to 8. It's going to be a good time. It's commemorating the fallen of the 1st Marine Division this year, and it's going to be a good time.
What future projects or events do y'all have coming up besides VetFest?
All right, so what a lot of people don't see with OP Veteran is we have more events than just VetFest. So VetFest is our big event. Denny likes to call it our marquee event. And whereas VetFest is for where we bring in the veteran-owned service organizations, veteran-owned businesses, and all the volunteers in general, we also have spring kickoff and the freedom float. Now spring kickoff is obviously in the spring, and the freedom float is during the summer. So with the spring kickoff, we like to reach out to a veteran service organization and find out how we can help them and throw them a fundraiser, for lack of a better term, help get their name out there and get them exposure that they may not necessarily get if they were just trying to do it on their own.
Okay. So y'all kind of pick like a random one, or?
We've had suggestions in the past. We've picked random ones in the past. I think we're going to try something different this year. I'm not 100% sure yet, so that's one of the things, I'm going to have to hold off on saying, make sure that's the way we're going to go with Denny and everyone else.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's important that we get some of the organizations out there that aren't maybe as well known, but could definitely benefit from the exposure.
Okay.
And then with the Freedom Float, and then we've got the Freedom Float, which is just our main event for just the veterans at large. It's the only event that we ask that you pay for, and the fact that we do basically go tubing down the river and just have a lot of fun. We also have events throughout the rest of the year, mainly to support VetFest and all our other events, and also just to get people out of the house and have some fun, and just get them back into it.
Okay, very good. So beyond the other events, beyond VetFest, do you have any larger goals or projects that y'all are trying to get into the works but not quite there? Basically, just what kind of future goals do you have?
Man, we've got that's. Honestly, that's something me and Denny talk about every day. I feel like one of the big things that we've got going on right now is the Overwatcher program and developing that. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about it for right now, because we're working out the kinks. But we definitely want to make more engagements. We want to get not only the veterans engaged, but the veteran service organizations engaged and the veteran owned businesses engaged. And the best way to do that is through collaboration. And so it's taken some planning on our part, and just making sure that everything goes to the way we want it to go. Make sure everything it's up to a high standard, and that it benefits not just one person or two people, but everybody that's involved.
Okay, very good. Let's see. So one of the last, we're kind of getting towards the end, wrapping things up. Mm-hmm. But how do people find y'all? What social media outlets do you want to push people to?
So we are on all social media boards, aspects, platforms. I'm not really sure what the hip new term is.
Right.
We're on Facebook at www.facebook.com/opveteran. And then you can also find us on www.opveteran.org. And on both of those sites, you will find merchandise that we have for sale. We have coffee on the website as well as hats. And on Facebook, I think we just have the hats right now. We're working on getting the coffee back on. And we also have a Twitter account. I know I'm Overwatcher6, and Denny is... I'm looking his up right now because I don't know that off the top of my head, and I apologize about that because I'm also figuring out the Twitter.
Not a problem.
It's one of those things. Okay, these are some of the things you're going to need to know how to do. It's like, oh, okay, and then figuring out. We've got OP Veteran at O_P_veteran, and then we've got if you want to follow Denny, it's at Denny OP Veteran. And then I'm Overwatcher6, and you can also reach out. And if they haven't, I really suggest you do it, because one of the big things we do is community outreach and helping the community get in contact with each other. We do that through our Overwatchers page, which is www.facebook.com/Overwatchers. That one, I'm amazed by. It's even just something as simple of simple as, hey man, does anybody want to adopt a dog?
Cool.
So
right on. So I will say it like this. Is there anything that we haven't covered? Anybody you want to say a special mention to, any notices, special shout outs? The floor is yours.
Oh, Denny will tell you that. Denny can't really, the board will tell you that's a dangerous concept in and of itself. We actually got a lot going on, a lot coming up. So not on the 28th of September, we are going to be up in Round Rock, Texas, down at the Flats with Irreverent Warrior for a Silky Saturday event. It's gonna be going from 5 to 8. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It'll probably go on longer. If you want to show up and have some fun, that's gonna be a great event. Silkies are not required to be worn, but if you would like to wear them, they will be encouraged. I myself will be in my Silkies. But before that, on Friday, on the 27th, we're also going to be down in San Antonio at the Grunt Style Social again. So whether you're in San Antonio and or the Austin Round Rock area, we're gonna be in an event near you. So come on out. We've got raffle tickets to sell. We're definitely pushing those for the items we've got going on at VetFest, which is a 9.5 Blackguard Customs, a burnt flag, not a burnt flag. I'm just going to say we've got some great raffle items that we'll be giving away.
Awesome.
Information to follow.
Very good. And if people want to know more about it, they can just look it up through the one of the either the website or the Facebook group, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
awesome.
Sir.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. I definitely appreciate you being on.
I really appreciate it.
It's been a blast. I have not laughed this much in an interview since I've started doing them 6 interviews ago. So I've been doing a weekly show, and when I did my first when I first started, I was like, it's just gonna be a solo show. I'm gonna be talking all kinds of cool shit, and people are gonna love it. And then as I progressed, I realized, all right, my first 4 episodes, don't even bother. Episode 5 is when I decided, all right, I'm going to make a change in the direction. And I did like my official introduction. And then somewhere in the 20s, I'm like, I'm not feeling the way this is going over here. And then I decided, the only way I'm going to continue to progress is to get into doing interview shows. So technically, I have been doing this for going on 30 weeks now. Actually, you're episode 31, so 31 weeks. And I think this is like interview number 6. So I'm progressing, I'm growing. And
I appreciate you being patient with me.
Oh, not a problem.
I don't do this as often as you do.
Well, it's all a learning experience. One of the things, my wife, she's like, well, don't you want to practice more? Don't you want to do this before you actually get into doing this? And it's like, well, the only way you're going to get better is to do it. Yeah. And if I waited until I was better, I would never start. So, hey, feet in the fire, jump into the wolf den and go for it,
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's been a learning experience, just for me, and the fact that make sure your phone's on silent, make sure you're not getting any emails. What else happened in the course of no phone calls? Yeah, that one happened.
Oh, yep, there you
go. So blanking out the entire computer as much as possible is going to be in my best interest.
Gotcha.
Reduces the squirrel moments.
There you are. I love the term squirrel moments. I do that with my wife periodically. Either her or myself will have those moments, and I'll just look at her and go, squirrels. And she'll be like, yep.
It's either that or, ooh, shiny.
Exactly. I
feel like a cat with a laser pointer.
Well, hey, like I said, thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate you being on and helping to spread the message and go from there.
I appreciate it.
Well, there you go, everybody. There's my interview with Sean Friedrich from OP Veteran. If you're going to be in the Austin area on November 2nd, I would highly recommend that you go check out the VetFest event that they've got going on over at the Old Settlers Park. If you want more details, check them out on their website at opveteran.org. Also, you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/opveteran. You can also find them on Instagram at O.P.Veteran, and also on Twitter at O_P_veteran. So all this will also be in the show notes, so check it out there if you missed it as I said it here. We were hoping to get their CEO, Denny, on the show, but unfortunately he had just had surgery and he wasn't feeling very well. And as the time of me doing the edits for this episode, he went back into the hospital with an obstruction. So, Denny, hope you're getting to feel better. Hope they're able to straighten everything out and get well soon. And I'd love to get you on the show too. But that's going to do it for me. Like I said, follow them on all their social media accounts, and I will see y'all next time. I'm out. Thank you for listening to the Reclaimed American podcast. If you're ready to do more and be more, start by leaving us a rating and review on iTunes or Google Play. Then join our community on Facebook and Instagram at Reclaimed American, and join us over on our website at reclaimedamerican.us.